Howdy everyone, this is Norman McFadden. I come to you every Monday with a new story, and today's story comes out of my book, Urban Legends of Lincoln County, Volume 1. Now, I've got 4 books out, and I'm going to tell a story from each one of them every day. Now, this story today is about Frenchman Bluff. Now, there's a lot of people around Troy know what Frenchman Bluff is, and they know about Frenchman Bluff and how beautiful it is. A lot of young people goes up there to get away from all the older people and do things we did when we were young. It's a lover's sleep life. But they don't got an idea what happened at that lover's sleep. And look, I got my favorite shirt on, Mark Twain. I love Mark Twain's writing. But that's what the story is about. The Frenchman Bluff now, it's way, way, way up in the air. I mean, it's high. Troy's about a mile off, and you can see Troy from it. And you can see rolling fields as far as your eyes can see. And if you walk right to the edge and look straight down, you can see River rolling by. Alright, now, the story happened in the early 1800s. They was a Frenchman, well-to-do Frenchman, decided, well, I'm going to buy all this land right here. I want this land. He floated down River and said, this is where I want to stay. So he bought all the land from the government. It was like 300 acres. And it covered everything around Frenchman Bluff and Frenchman Bluff. And he noticed there wasn't a lot of stores around, so he built a little trading post in the valley, and he put his living quarters in the back of the trading post. People could float down the River and get park right there in the valley and walk right to his trading post. Perfect ideal. He done really good. But one day he was tending his little trading post, and all of a sudden the door came open. And this Indian chief came in, and walking in behind him was his daughter. And the first time the Frenchman seen her, he fell deeply, deeply in love with her. If you don't believe in love at first sight, that's what he had. He just couldn't take his eyes off of her. He told her dad, he said, take anything you want from my store. It's yours, free. So the chief took quite a bit of stuff. And so did the beautiful princess. But he just sat there with that smile on his face, looking at her. And they got done shopping. They turned around and they walked out of the store. And he hollered, come here. See, he knew how to speak their language because he'd been in that area long enough. He knew all the 3 tribes that lived in the Lincoln County area language. And he told the chief, he said, I tell you what, I want to load my wagon up full of stuff. I'll have pot, pan, jewelry, blankets, everything you can think of on the back of my wagon. I'd like to come to your camp and maybe trade your people some my stuff for some of your stuff. Chief says, okay. Now, I see straight through him. The chief must have been not paying attention because his idea was to go out to the Indian camp and see the beautiful princess again. That's what his idea was. But they left, and it was kind of early morning, and his day just dragged by. The Frenchman was trying to make it through the day, but he kept thinking about that princess' beautiful face and how she just made him feel like an eagle flying through the air so graceful that he couldn't touch the ground, and she made him feel so good that he couldn't even touch the ground. He said if he could ever get her, that he wouldn't let a tear be in her eye, and he'd wipe it away. And he sat there all day. People come in and out, and it got to be closing time. There's one person in there. He said, "Get out of here." You know, he said, "Come back tomorrow." He threw him out. Locked the door. Loaded his wagon through the back door. Everything in his wagon. Loaded it up. And he locked the trading post up, and he headed toward the camp. He got out to the camp, and there's a little wagon road going into the camp. And wouldn't you know, they was graves on each side of this little wagon trail going into the camp. They were probably 15 on each side, 30 altogether, and he was riding through the middle of them. And he said he felt in his mind that they felt like he was a bad disease, and they didn't want him in his camp, their camp. And he said he got about the middle of them, then his feeling started to change. He felt like he was a bad disease, and they were going to stomp him out before he got in their camp. But they let him go on through, because the chief said he could come. He got over to where the chief was sitting by the fire. And he looked down at the chief and the beautiful princess. And he couldn't contain himself no longer. He said it was more than he could control. He jumped off the wagon, ran over there to the chief, and kneeled beside him. He says, "You see my wagon, my horses, and everything on it?" He said, "I will give you all of that if I can marry your daughter." The chief looked very tough. He said, "No." He said, "Tribal law said she must marry someone that's in the tribe. We can't marry out of the tribe." But the Frenchman wasn't going to take that for an answer. He said, no, listen. I got 300 acres. I'll give you all my land. You can have it all. You can have my trading posts. I'll give you my trading posts if you just let me marry your daughter. The chief leaned back, had a pipe, and put the top of the pipe. The Frenchman was about ready to lose his mind. He wanted to hear his answer. And he sat there real still. Then he blew the smoke out. He said, "No, we can't break tribal law. Tribal law says she must marry within the tribe. Now I want you to get on your wagon and leave, and never to return." See, because he was getting angry with the sheep. But he knew better than starting any more trouble then, because the braves had been on him like ugly on ape. So he got back on his wagon, heartbroken, headed back towards the trading post. He got to the trading post. He didn't even unload his wagon. Didn't even worry about somebody stealing everything on it. Just went in there and laid across his bed, looking at the ceiling, thinking about that beautiful princess, thinking about her beautiful brown eyes with her beautiful long silky black hair, and how the sun hit her skin and let it shine, and how he was watching her in the firelight, and the firelight kind of felt like it looked like it was in her eyes. He said she would never be sad with me. I would make her happy one way or the other. And about morning, it was pretty close to morning, he said, "I can't take it no more. I've been awake all night. I got it. I'll never sleep again if I don't get her." So he went and got on his wagon. He figured everybody in the Indian camp would be asleep, and he headed out to the Indian camp. He parked about half a mile before he got to the camp, but he knew they'd hear him. And he got off and walked the rest of the way. He snuck by the Indian guards. And he remembered when he was in the camp talking to the chief that the princess got up and went into a tent, a teepee. And he remembered which one it was. So he went up to the teepee and he flew the flap open. And there she was, laying there so beautiful, sleeping. He said he couldn't contain himself. He just had to know if she felt the same way he did. So she ran over, he kneeled beside her, and he got down close to her ear. In her own language, he asked her, "Do you love me as much as I love you?" He said, "If you do, let's run away." Her eyes opened up. She'd heard every word. She said yes. She jumped up and started packing stuff in a blanket. She rolled it up in the blanket. And they came out of the teepee and started sneaking out of the camp. And they were trying to sneak by this one guard, the last guard. And all of a sudden, a pot that she'd rolled up in that blanket fell out and clattered on the ground. Oh, that brave heard it. He let out a war call just loud you could have heard it from miles away. Everybody at the camp was getting up. All he knew is grab her by a hand and run. Everything in her blanket fell out. They got to the wagon and got it turned around. They headed up the road, but they could see the Indians behind them. They was at least 30 of them. The chief was in the lead. But he said, "I can't let them catch us. I can't let them catch us." Up that road they went, right up that big old hill, right up to the top of Frenchman Bluff. He should have knew it would dead ended up there. It don't now, but it did then. But I guess he was scared and thinking about getting away with his love. But they got right to the edge of the bluff and they stopped the wagon. They could hear the Indians behind them and the followers. They was all howling war calls. She said she didn't know what they'd do to them. But they went to the edge of the cliff. And the princess looked up into his eyes and she says, "My father never will allow us to be together in this life. But maybe, just maybe, we can be together in the afterlife." So with that, they hugged each other. And as the morning sun was rising, they kissed each other. The first kiss. Some people say that the chief and the braves threw them off the cliff to their death down below on the River River. That ain't the way I see it. That's not the way I see it. After their first kiss, they gathered hand in hand and they leaped together off the cliff so they could be together in the afterlife. Some people say if you go up to the Frenchman Bluff today, in the mornings around 5:30 when the sun's coming up, that if you look straight down along the shores of the River River, that you could still see the Frenchman and the beautiful Indian maiden, the princess, walking hand in hand along the shores of the River River. I hope you all enjoyed it. I enjoyed telling it. They're more to life than scary. You know something? What we need a lot more of in this world would make it a better world is love. Think about that. God bless y'all.